Chargers, though, so you had players come out defending Brandon Staley, saying like they're building something special there. And I'm like, and again, it might just be the disconnect of like the fandom from them, what's going on in the locker room. And I don't doubt that they like Brandon Staley. I just think that, good God, that offense is so anemic under Herbert, and it should not be. Like with the weapons they have, Eckler, Allen, Mike Williams, when Brandon Staley doesn't start him and get him needlessly injured. Like they have so many weapons on that team, and it's just like, what the hell are you doing?
See, I think this year, though, I don't think they do have so many weapons. They don't have an elite tight end. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen can't stay healthy, either of those guys. This season, the amount of games they were out there together, not very many.
Sure.
Herbert played through that rib thing, okay? I think Herbert is a very good quarterback, but I also think he's a little bit overrated. And I think we have seen it in clutch time a few times. I think he's a little overrated. I think Staley may be a little overly criticized this season. And their offensive line was a mess.
It was injured, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I don't like defending the Chargers. I really don't. But I think the Chargers, if they can get either another elite ball catcher at receiver or tight end and some more depth on their line, you can roll with Staley if you believe in what they're building. And I don't think he did much this season to deserve to be fired. We've just kind of changed our expectations for where we put coaches to be fired. Like,
I don't disagree with that.
Like people are calling for Mike McDaniel to be fired because
That's stupid. That's stupid.
Some clock mismanagement with a third string quarterback.
Guy's ripping a vape on the sideline. Yeah. What a legend.
Yeah. You fire your, like, if I'm running the Chargers and I'm like, the offense is the problem, and I bring in a different offensive coordinator to get the most out of Justin Herbert. If the players like your head coach, like legit like him, maybe they don't. Maybe they're just being good players, defending their head coach because you don't want to see guys get fired. But if they like him, I think Staley is a decent coach, and I think he could be a very good head coach. And I think coaches just deserve more time to prove it. We've gotten into like just pull the Band-Aid off. I would have given Nathaniel Hackett another season to prove himself.
Yeah, no, that makes
sense.
But
I've been tortured, so maybe my perspective is wrong. Well, maybe seeing a guy like Staley, I'm like, I would take that.
So I think here's the problem is like Brandon Staley came in and he's supposed to be like this defensive mastermind. The defense, no, it hasn't been. Like it, and again, they dealt with injuries too. Don't get me wrong, like Bosa's been out, all that great stuff. But their defense was not where they wanted. And they got Khalil Mack, right? So to pair with Bosa, they got JC Jackson, which really just didn't work out. He also was injured. But that defense was not as good as it was. I think the play calling, so Joe Lombardi, like, not great. Like, he needs to go. And then I just think that he is not doing them any favors. Like, it is one thing if your players really like your head coach. I think that's important. But at the same time, it comes down to winning football games. And Brandon Staley was aggressive against the Cardinals. And, like, you saw, like, hey, like, yeah, like, we made fun of them all last year for, like, the fourth down analytics and being aggressive and going for it. And he scaled back on that this year. But, and this is a big but, the team that he's put together, in my opinion, should be more competitive and should be winning more games than they are. And they're not.
But that's the Chargers of the last 50 years.
But here's the thing, though. I think it's magnified and is worse because you had Herbert on a rookie deal, and that is slowly going away. So, like, you're looking at your window here where you're able to get these big signings, make these trades, etc. Yeah, I still don't like Zach Taylor.
I know you hate him for some reason.
I do not. I just don't. I think that he is an overrated coach.
I think you need a couple losing seasons under your belt.
Listen, I've been there.
You need to be a loser for a while.
I've been there with Mike McCarthy. I've been there with all of our defensive coordinators. Literally all of them. Yeah. Dom Capers, Mike Pettin, Joe Barry. Like, I've been there.
I think it should be illegal to fire a head coach that got your team to the playoffs. plain and simple. That means the Raiders would still have Rich Bisaccia. You can't fire a head coach if he gets to the playoffs. New rule. Nailed it.
I just think that, and again, I'm not saying he's a horrible coach, Zach Taylor, but I just think that I think he's a bit overrated. It reminds me a lot, and maybe this is just personal bias and experience. It reminds me a lot of the later years with Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, maybe that's somewhat true, but I think like you get better as you do the job more, as you do it longer.
Like,
I think who Zach Taylor is a head coach this year is probably different than where he was 2 years ago, and probably will be different in 2 years from now. Like a head coach, if it's working with your elite QB, which the Bengals have, stick with it. Obviously, like Zach Taylor's job's not in question at all, but I wouldn't fire Staley. I really wouldn't. And I'm not just saying that because the Chargers were the only team the Broncos beat. Did he make a bad decision to play Mike Williams? Yes. Could they be a little bit better? Sure.
Buddy, I don't know.
Look, the only way you do fire Staley is if you know you can get Sean Payton because you believe that's an improvement. Okay, I get that. Like, oh, we can definitely get somebody that we certainly believe is better. But after that, you're really like, you're just taking another gamble. And if it doesn't work, if you fire him and the next guy you bring in doesn't work, that's worse. You're setting your team back further than rolling with somebody who got you to the playoffs.
I do not disagree at all.
But
at the same time, and this is what I said yesterday on stream, Zach Taylor, I will give him all the props because it was a culture thing. I think that he helped change that culture there with Joe Burrow. I think that Burrow literally being the QB that he is. There was nothing there. Staley has not changed the culture in any way, shape, or form. And this is what I talked about the Falcons because I saw that. This is what I talked about with the Falcons because there is a culture there in Atlanta, right? It's like talking to Kurt Benkert and he's like, you start losing. It's like, oh my God, go back to the curse. Like, we're going to blow this game.
Right.
That's the Chargers right now. And I just don't know how after the Mike Williams decision, after your defense has not been good, and now you have this in the postseason, which you've made for the first time since 2018, and you blow a 27-0 lead. And I'm sorry, I don't mean this as offensive as it's going to sound, to the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Like, because the Jaguars, it's the first time they've been there for quite some time too. Like, it shouldn't happen. And that's like the culture that is being embedded into San Diego, LA. And I feel like that needs to shift. That needs to change. And I don't know if Staley's going to do it.
Yeah, it's fair to say, I don't know if he'll change it. That's not true, fat man. Kingsbury had a losing record. Cardinals extended Kingsbury too soon. That was their problem. And I think how many years did Kingsbury get? Was this his fourth season? 2019 to 2022, 4 years. I think Brandon Staley's just 2.
So let's go worst case scenario and best case scenario, right? Okay, let's look at the two sides of the coin. Let's say you fire Brandon Staley.
Yeah, second season. Give him a third season.
Let's see. You fire Brandon Staley, right? Let's just say we go down that path. Let's look at the best and worst outcome. Worst outcome is you bring in a coach who's not as good, right? You don't get a Sean Payton, you don't get a Harbaugh, you don't get any of these guys, right? You wind up bringing in a coach who's even worse, and it's a problem. So that's one. The good side of that, if you fire him, if you do bring in a guy like Sean Payton and he could potentially turn the team around, he turns the culture around, etc. Now, if you keep Brandon Staley, best and worst. Worst, it's another year down of Justin Herbert's rookie deal, and now that's pretty much gone, and now you have to pay him a lot of money, and now you're limited in the moves that you can make in the future. Your window has closed a bit more. Best, do you think he brings the best out of the team?
Yeah. You want to know what's actually going to happen, Tom?
Opportunity cost. Yeah.
Staley's going to lead the Chargers to like a 12-5 record next year. They're going to be considered, we'll say 13-4. They're going to be like, oh, this is one of the best teams in the league. And then they're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs. And then they're going to fire him just like they did to old Marty Schottenheimer. As soon as he figures it out, as soon as the Chargers get it going, that's when they kick him out. Wait. Biscuit break stuff is Russ's revenge.
I love seeing you distracted. You're
I'm
just
not
like
a good
point.
multitasker. Hey,
It's pretty good. Break stuff.
I just made a Limp Biscuit reference in the Chargers Jaguars video, so I was curious.
But yeah, so Jaguars, they're playing with nothing to lose. They are playing with house money, and they're going to take on the number 1 seed Chiefs. And I don't see what it said.
It's a new $50 super thanks from Revealing Storm.
Oh,
I get a notification on my phone about a super thanks.
I think I've gotten like 3 or 4 super thanks. And I was like,
Wow.
oh yeah, I forget that they're there.